Hi everyone, it's that time again where we're going to be trying out some brand new products. I've already got the things on my skin that I'm not trying out brand new today, so a lick of mascara, a little bit of eyeshadow, done my brows already. However, we have brand new products from Lancome, Refy, Huda Beauty, Bare Minerals, Sweed, Lisa Eldridge and Laura Mercier, so we are going to get straight on with it. If you are new here, hi, I do a lot of beauty content on this channel. I would love it if you come and join the Pampered Wolf Pack if you are enjoying what you're watching by clicking on the like button, the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. First up, we've got a brand new skin tint from Sweed. This is a skin tint with a difference because skin tint for me always suggests that this is going to be really light coverage, but this is a medium buildable coverage skin tint. It's supposed to be incredibly lightweight, comes in 15 different shades. It's the Glass Skin Foundation. So I've gone for the shade 5, which is for light skin tones with a neutral undertone. This is an alcohol-free formula, but it does have a fragrance. I actually can't smell the fragrance, so I don't think it's super strong. Maybe I'm coming down with a cold. I don't know. I really can't smell the fragrance at all, but it's definitely in the formula. It is on the list of ingredients. So if you are super sensitive to anything with a fragrance in, you can be the judge on whether you want to try this out or not. So I'm actually going to apply this with a brush. It does say for light coverage, apply with your fingertips, but I want to test out this medium buildable coverage malarkey, so we're going to go straight in with a brush. So really good shade match for me. I wore this over the last couple of days, got really good wear out of it. So when it says it's going to last you all day, I don't think that that is false. The words glass skin frightened me a little bit. I always think that glass skin is super reflective or super dewy. Neither of those things suit my skin because I do have a little bit of texture, I do have some open pores, so I tend to steer away from any sort of foundation or skin tint that have those words on the bottle or in the description. This I would not say is glass skin at all. I don't think this is super reflective. This is really flattering on my skin. This is a lot more diffusing and airbrushing than I thought it would be. So I would say that you can definitely shear this out, even with a brush. I do think it applies very, very silky and smoothly, which is another thing I really like about this. You can definitely see my skin poking through, but the coverage is there. So I have some discoloration at the top of my forehead and it's covered it over really well. Again, you can still see some of it poking through, but I think that just adds to the more skin-like effect. This is my skin, but better. Really lovely. Just gonna see if we can build it up on the tops of my cheeks just a little bit. So I'm going to add a bit more to the back of my hand. Really get it in those bristles and pat that on the surface of the skin. Just using patting motions rather than swiping when I'm building up coverage. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to use this underneath the eyes, but because I'm using a new concealer today, I don't really want to do that because I really want to see what the new concealer will do just on its own. So there is still a slight tacky residue on the surface of my skin that will remain there for around about 20 minutes, or at least that is my experience. Yesterday, I didn't leave my SPF enough time to dry down before applying this over the top, so it had a little bit more of a shiny finish and a little bit more of a tacky residue. Today, I have waited a considerable amount of time before applying this, and it's actually sank into the skin much, much better today and just looks superb on my skin. Really, really like this. It is not transfer resistant. This does transfer on other things. Obviously, you can make that better by powdering this in place or using a setting spray. But yesterday, I didn't do either of those things because I wanted to see how this was going to wear, and it wore very, very well. Next up, we've got a brand new concealer from Refi. I'm really excited to get some of this on. I love the whole no makeup ethos that Refi has as a brand. So I am a little uncertain whether this is going to be enough coverage for me on days where I'm going to have a full beat of makeup on, but I've gone semi-natural today. I mean, not overly natural, but I've gone semi-natural today, so fingers crossed this will be enough. So I've gone for the shade 6, which I believe is for light skin tones with a neutral undertone. So I've popped a little bit of the Faux Filter Colour Corrector in the shade Peach from Huda Beauty just on this side of my face. I'm not going to do this side. We're going to see how much coverage this can actually have and how much it can actually cover. So I'm going to take my BK Beauty 207 brush and go straight into that concealer. I only really want to be covering over the areas of darkness to begin with. And then we're going to blend it upwards and outwards. So I'm just going to pop that on the areas of darkness. Usually I would give this a minute or so to start to dry down before I start blending it out. This is definitely the right shade for me. I don't like to go too brightening underneath my eyes. It's just not a good look for me. I always envy people who can go really brightly underneath their eyes. You always want what you can't have, don't you? But going more skin tone, just a slightly bit brighter, tends to work for me. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry down. While I'm doing that, I'll pop a little bit over this side. We'll see which one I prefer. I do like the consistency of this. It's very loose. It's not thick. It's not sticky. It's quite serum-like in the way that it feels, but it's not a serum consistency in the sense that it's not overly thin. Definitely got some coverage to it though, which I like. I'm going to go onto this side again and blend this out with my fingers. It's not shiny, but it's not matte. It's somewhere in between, more of a satin finish. It definitely still looks like my skin. I am going to apply a little bit more over the top though, because for me, that's not got enough coverage for what I require today. Let's just smooth this out. So the side with colour corrector on definitely wins for me. This side just isn't enough. However, I do still want a little bit more coverage on the side with colour corrector as well. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on the back of my hand, because it may be with this formula that I get the right amount of coverage with 2 layers of the concealer on its own, and maybe I don't need a colour corrector underneath, because if I'm adding a little bit more coverage on this side where I had the colour corrector, I've now got 3 layers of product underneath my eye, and I don't usually like to do that because it's got more chance of creasing throughout the day. So I don't know how this is going to wear at all. This is the first time I've used this concealer, so I will let you know in a future video what I think about this and how it wears. So in my opinion, I have enough coverage with 2 layers of the concealer, so 3 layers of product, including a colour corrector, is just not necessary for this concealer. In my opinion, you may feel differently if you want to give this one a go for yourself. I guess it depends on how deep your dark circles are, but I think mine look very similar side by side. In fact, I think the coverage is slightly better on the side where I didn't use a colour corrector, quite honestly. So let's move on. I have noticed a tiny bit of creasing directly underneath my lash line, so as far as I'm concerned, this is going to be a concealer that you're going to need to powder in place, unless possibly you only apply 1 layer of the product. So if I wasn't wearing any makeup whatsoever, but I just wanted to cover over my dark circles slightly, I would only be applying 1 layer of this concealer, and that might work without powder. But I do have a powder to try. This is from Laura Mercier, and it's the Translucent Press Setting Powder Ultra Blur. This is translucent, but there are other ones that you can go for which actually have some pigmentation to them. This looks very yellow, very very yellow, which actually might help to cover over my dark circles, but there shouldn't be any pigmentation once it's transferred to the skin because this is supposed to be translucent. So we will see. I'm going to take my Trigwell Cosmetics powder puff and swirl that in the pan of the new translucent powder. Tap the XF on the back of my hand because I don't want to be applying too much under here. See, it's already creasing again. I'm gonna have to smooth that out. I do like the feel of it, but the fact that this is creasing is an issue because I don't like my concealer to crease at all. That definitely is smoothing and blurring. And it has mattified slightly as well, which I like underneath my eyes. I'm going to tap a little bit of this on my forehead as well to remove a bit of the shine. I've also got some large pores around my nose area, so I'm gonna add a bit to those. Wow. Now, I'm not completely blown away by this because powders in general recently have knocked my socks off. This is on par with a lot of them. So there's the NARS powder that I just think it's absolutely superb, and some other blurring anti-shine powders that have all been absolutely unbelievable. So I'm not saying this is any better than those, but it's on par. I mean, this is definitely working. Whether it will hold my oily T-zone at bay for the rest of the day, it remains to be seen, because if it does that, we have a winner. But I don't think this has given me any yellowy hue, and it's definitely not making my skin look dry. It's still looking like my skin. It's not making the foundation, the skin tint, look heavier. If you are in the market for a blurring powder and you don't have any of the blurring powders that I've spoken about in the past that have just completely blown my mind, then it's a contender. It's definitely a contender. It's also really nice packaging, neutral. It's plastic. It does have a mirror in there as well, and it does have a sponge applicator that you can apply on the go, but I have my trusty powder puff, so I've used that today. But let's see if it's held the oils at bay by the end of this video. Next up, I'm going to be trying out these brand new bronzers from Lancome. Really, really like the packaging. It's like a tortoiseshell effect. I think it's very, very pretty. I did actually only order 01 Fair in these, and then yesterday, because I knew I was going to be filming this video, I thought I'd order 02 Light as well, just to give us fair skin gals a little bit of options, because sometimes the undertones in these are slightly off for our complexions, to say the least. So I wanted to give you the comparisons between the two fairest shades within the range. So let me show you what they look like in the pan. So on the left we have Fair, and on the right we have 02 Light. And these are the swatches. So the swatch on the top is 02 Light, the swatch on the bottom is 01 Fair. You can see there is quite a considerable difference in the shades, but the really good thing is not a hint of orange in either of these shades. There's a slight reddy undertone to 02 Light, but it's not orange. It's never been orange. These are very neutral bronzers. Really, really like them. So let's see if they transfer onto the face the same way that they've transferred onto the back of my hands. I'm actually quite excited. These are most definitely matte blushes. They have a very silky, smooth texture. This is 01. And I don't like to be frightened by a bronzer at all. I like it to be really subtle. I don't want to have to be frightened to apply too much and then it takes me half an hour to try and blend it out. Having said that, this is incredibly subtle. Incredibly subtle. You can hardly tell that I've applied any to my skin whatsoever. I may have to go in with a slightly denser brush because this may not be helping. Let me get something slightly denser. That's really nice. Again, still very subtle. If you want a little bit more pigment payoff, choose a brush that is slightly more compact rather than something incredibly fluffy, because the fluffier it is, the less coverage you're actually going to get. I really like that though. That just gives me a little bit of something without somebody saying, I really like your bronzer. They're just thinking I look slightly more tanned. I think it's a triumph, but I am glad that I picked up 02 because this is going to have a little bit more depth to it. So I am going to try this first off with the fluffier brush. This is my BK103 brush. Dipping into that, I'm just going to tap off the excess so I don't frighten myself. That's really lovely. Okay, so this is probably the one that I would use. I would use it with a fluffy brush, but it's about the right level of depth for me. Gives me a little bit of colour without giving me too much. And again, definitely no orange in sight. I've got to say, looking at them side by side now, I really like both. I don't think I can go wrong with either of these. I do think it is a dense brush for the 01 for me, but definitely a fluffy brush for the 02. So there's not much in it. I don't think I could go for a dense brush with the 02. I think it would be too deep for me. Just a little bit too frightening on my complexion. But with a dense brush, you actually use less of the product because you've got less kickback in the pan. So there are definite positives and negatives of going for one or either shade, but I could make both shades work, which is a result. I have 2 new blushes to share with you, and I could not decide for the life of me which one I wanted to put in this video, so we're going to do both. We're going to have a side-by-side moment going on, which may be a mistake. I am going to have to even myself up before I go out with the kids later on, but you know, needs must. Let's have a look at both. So I have already tried the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Bronzer yesterday. I wore this yesterday, so I have never tried the Huda Beauty blush filter on my skin before. This is in the shade Cotton Candy. It does have a great applicator, whereas the Bare Minerals is in a squeezy tube. This applicator looks like it is primed for applying this product direct to the cheek, and I have seen a lot of reels sharing the application of this direct to the cheek, and I don't think it's looked very nice any time that I've seen it done that way. Just my opinion. But I'm going to apply this to the back of my hand. It's not easy to apply to the back of your hand, to be honest, because of the shape of the applicator, but you know, we're going to try. I adore the shade of this. Look at the shade. I don't usually go for pinky blushes. This may be slightly different for me. So I'm going to take my Refa 17 brush, dip into this, and start to stipple this on the cheek. This is already going on so much better than I've seen any other person on adverts do this. I've felt that when they've put it direct on the cheek, it's looked a little bit overkill. And this is coming from the blush queen. I do love a blush, but I just think this is a way better way of applying this. So I wish the applicator was slightly different so that it would be easier to get it on the back of your hand. Oh my gosh. I need to start going for more pinky tones because it's matte. I didn't think this was going to be matte because on the back of my hand it has sort of a sheen to it, but maybe it's because I've got powder underneath it. Maybe it's because I've also got the bronzer underneath it, but it's not looking super shiny on my cheeks. I am not mad at that. I prefer something with a demi sheen, you know, something that's not going to be overly shiny. In certain situations anyway, there is a time when I reach for my Rare Beauty powder blush with the ultra sheen that is just superb, but this excites me. This really excites me. Okay, I'm going to put it down. Let's move on to the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Bronzer. Now, I can tell you this is going to be completely different because this does have that glass skin dewiness to it. So I'm going to pop a little bit on the back of my hand and I'm going to spread that out. The shade of this as well is to die for. I mean, look at that. Just so gorgeous. Really gorgeous. So again, I'm just going to be taking my Refa 17 brush. This is such a beautiful summery shade. Again, bronzer. So it's bronzer and blush combined. You can use this however you want to use it. It is more pigmented, in my opinion, than the Huda Beauty, which surprises me somewhat, but you do get that sheen on the set. You know what? I'm not getting that sheen. I'm preferring the pink. This is looking a little bit much for me, and yesterday it looked gorgeous and a lot more dewy. A lot more dewy. So I think it is the Laura Mercier powder that is really diffusing the shine on this, because yesterday I definitely got more of a sheen. So the Laura Mercier powder is absolutely killing it today. I don't have any shine on my chin, on my upper lip, around my nose, in between my brows. These are my problem areas, and I would have got a little bit of shine there by now. This has been on a long time. I know you haven't been watching this for a long time, but I've been filming this for absolutely ages. So still nothing, and it's diffusing the shine on the blushes as well. It's like it's absorbing it. So I do have a little bit of shine on the Huda Beauty side, and I do have a little bit of shine on the Bare Minerals side, but it's not massive. Definitely not like yesterday. I do need to blur the edges of this a little bit, so I'm going to take the foundation brush that I used earlier on and just go around the edges. This is a tip that I got from Lisa Eldridge, who is a goddess, absolute goddess. She uses a clean brush to diffuse the edges of all her makeup on all her clients. I find that the foundation brush that I used with still a little bit of the foundation on really does help to blur everything out and make it look seamless. Look at that. So I look completely different because these are two completely different tones on my skin, but I wanted to show you both because both fit a purpose. This is a bronzer and a blush, great for summer. If you don't have the time to apply both products, you can just use one. This is really girly, really English rose. I think I prefer the Huda Beauty, not gonna lie. So I've popped a little bit of lip liner around the border of my lips. I've got a feeling it's going to be a little bit too deep for these brand new lipsticks that I've picked up from Lisa Eldridge. These are the Balm Embrace Melting Lip Colours. I'm so excited. I have not tried these on my lips before. I have stopped the urge to get these out of the box. This is the first time I'm seeing them, and I'm really, really hoping that they do not disappoint. So I have the shades Meet Cute and Epanouie, so hopefully these are going to transfer really nicely. I picked up a pinky shade because I know you all prefer pinky shades over the more warmer tones, so I'm going to try both. We're going to try the warmer tone first, which is Meet Cute. Very little opacity to this. I definitely should have put on a lighter coloured lip liner. Feels quite oily, hydrating, and definitely nourishing on my lips. It's got rid of all my lip lines, all my dryness immediately. It's very, very comfortable, but quite slippy. I really do like it. I was hoping for a little bit more opacity from the bullet, but it is supposed to be a balm, so it's not supposed to have a lot of opacity. Feels gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Let's try Epinouille. This is probably going to be more of my mum's shade than it is my shade. It's quite a mauvey pink rather than a warm light pink, which is what I generally go for. I love the feel of these on the lips. They just feel so beautiful. That slippiness is very inviting, very comfortable, and I don't want to take these off, so I'm not going to. I am going to change into the other one though, the Meet Cute, so give me a sec. It's amazing what a change of lip liner can do for a lip colour. I've changed my lip liner to the Lisa Eldridge Sculpt and Shade lip pencil in the shade 0N, which suits this so much better. I just love the feel of this. As soon as I took it off, I wanted to reapply it. I did not want to have it off my lips for any longer. It just feels that luxurious and beautiful on my lips. It does have a little bit of a flavour. I'm not quite sure whether it's a fruity flavour. It's definitely not a sweet flavour like a toffee or a caramel. It's pleasant. Whatever it is, it's pleasant. If somebody's got these already and they can tell me what this actually tastes of, I would really appreciate it, because all of a sudden my taste buds have gone dead. So that's it for this video. I love the Huda Beauty blush in the shade Cotton Candy. I just think it looks so much prettier, even though I do love the warm tone of the bronzer from Bare Minerals. There's just something about this side. It's just more girly, slightly more youthful in my opinion. It just suits me better. The Laura Mercier powder is still winning. I am blown away by the lack of shine in my T-zone after I applied this, and I must have applied that around about an hour ago. I've just been up and downstairs doing little bits and bobs whilst filming this, so it has taken quite a bit of time. There've been a few deliveries in the Pampered Wolf household, so yeah, I've definitely done the stairs today. I've got my steps in, and yeah, still nothing. There's a tiny bit of shine here. Can you see? A tiny bit of shine, but it's tiny. Still nothing around my nose area, nothing on my chin, nothing on my upper lip. I'm all for it. So yeah, I really have enjoyed using these products today. Let me know which one your favorite has been in the comment section. I'm just gonna go and find a mirror and stare at myself all afternoon. I really hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give this video a like, make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you've hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos like these. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.